Look how much damage the Expo does. It's so freaking trolly, man.
It's super annoying to play against Expo.
If it gets on your tower, you're done.
Still, like with Rocket, it gets like 700 damage or something.
It's a good card, but it's not OP.
It does so much damage so quick and it lasts so long.
Yikes, bro. That's all I can say.
And don't act like if you had it, you wouldn't play with it, dude.
I don't think that you should be able to put something on your side and shoot.
So even though it's high skill, it doesn't matter. It's still too strong.
My mind is still blown. The Expo didn't shoot the giant skeleton.
A deck that some say may never die.
There are over 100 cards in Clash Royale. Almost every card has been hated by the community at some point. We've seen cards like Royal Giant buffed to an unbelievable strength and dominated the game, especially in lower arenas. More recently, we've seen Elixir Golem paired with Battle Healer and Barbarian Hut, destroying even the best of players with seemingly little to no effort. But none of these are like Expo. Expo's different. Expo has a way of making players feel hopeless and defeated before the match has even started. But why? Why has Expo remained so dominant almost 5 years later? To understand that, we need to think about what makes Expo unique. There are only 3 cards in Clash Royale that can attack an opponent's tower from the other side of the map: Princess, Mortar, and Expo. Then what makes Expo so terrifying to verse compared to the other 2? Well, it's the elixir cost. Expo is 6 elixir and is an offensive card with its primary purpose to take towers. We know that it's intended to be an offensive card because it's in the game description and from playing it ourselves. This means that the 6 elixir cost that you're paying for is for the Expo's offensive ability, not its defensive ability. This is where the first problem comes in. For Expo to be worth 6 elixir, it needs to be a strong offensive option that could compete with all the other win conditions in the game. And it is. But then it also has that unique ability of taking towers from the other side of the map. And that's the second problem. Expo has to be met with a response at the bridge when played. Let me rephrase that. The 10th most expensive card in the game has to be beaten at the bridge. And this is why Expo is so frustrating. It's one of those cards that require such a specific response. But let's compare Expo to cards like Golden Barrel or Graveyard. Golden Barrel is countered by Log, but you can also counter it at a little expense with any cheap card in the game, even if they outcycle your Log. Graveyard is countered by Poison, but you can also counter it with a wide variety of troops, even if they outcycle your Poison. But with Expo, yes, you could argue it is also countered by Rocket, and then you can also counter it with Royal Giant or other tanks, but that's the issue. Expo forces out a specific expensive response due to its high elixir cost and ability to take towers from the other side of the map. I want to repeat that because it's so important. Expo forces out specific expensive responses due to its high elixir cost and ability to take towers from the other side of the map. And Expo players use this to their advantage by playing Expo Cycle. If an opponent has a counter to Expo like Royal Giant, then you just play Expo, let them play Royal Giant, and counter it with cheap cycle cards, and all of a sudden you're back to another Expo. And they don't have Royal Giant anymore and are unlikely to have another good counter to Expo, especially as good as Royal Giant is. So you simply defend your Expo as hard as possible and repeat that for the rest of the game until you can cycle spells on their tower. In theory, this sounds perfect for the Expo player, but how do they actually defend with a deck full of cheap cycle cards? And that's where Expo's perfect synergy with 2 specific cards comes in. The first is Log, which is a ground hitting spell that can only be deployed on your side of the map or at the bridge. For this reason, it's given a special knockback ability as well as a ton of damage compared to the other cheap spells in the game. And this is perfect for Expo. Log is a perfect spell in Expo decks because of its handicap of only being able to be played at the bridge. This obviously isn't a handicap for Expo decks because Expo is played at the bridge, which makes it especially strong with Expo as it can support the Expo immediately for so much value at such a cheap cost, whilst also playing an important defensive role in the deck and for finishing off towers through spell cycling. And the other card that synergizes perfectly with Expo is Tesla. Tesla is a 4 elixir air and ground hitting building that fits perfectly next to Expo during offense, but more importantly serves for defense. Tesla does just enough damage to kill tanks, is just cheap enough at 4 elixir that with a quick Expo cycle deck, it can be cycled to again easily within the same defense if needed, and almost always gets more value than it's worth, especially when combined with units such as Skeletons, Ice Spirit, and Log that give it a bit more time to deal more damage to incoming units. It works perfectly with Expo by covering its weaknesses, and that's why not only the infamous 2.9 cycle deck runs Tesla, but the second most popular Expo deck, more commonly known as Icepo, has also started to run Tesla as well. Expo synergizes so well with cycle cards as well as Log and Tesla, it's hard to believe. So to come full circle and to answer the questions posed at the beginning, why do players feel so hopeless when matched against Expo? Because Expo forces out specific expensive responses due to its high elixir cost and ability to take towers from the other side of the map. And why has Expo remained so dominant almost 5 years later? Because of its ability to seemingly beat anything due to the perfect synergy it has with other cards in its deck. Thank you for watching and subscribe if you enjoyed and use code KFC. I'm going to start uploading more frequently now, so prepare yourselves.